Hello to you, Andrea. I know that you're not just a bookworm. Of course, you read critically and you review books critically as well. So if I had to put you on the spot, I'm not sure if you keep count, but how many books have you read this year? Every time I see you in the office, you've got a book in your hand or at your desk.
Well, I set a goal for myself on that social media site Goodreads, which is for readers. It's got 90 million people reviewing books on that site. So you can set yourself a goal on there for every year, and I'm just too shy of my 80-book goal.
For the year?
Yes, for the year.
I'm going to ask what the average is per week. There's too many numbers involved. Okay, so of all of those, you've now scaled down those 80-something books to your top 10. When you read a book, as you start taking this through your top 10, I imagine you're going from 10 down to 1. You can give us a bit of a countdown, really. What do you look for in a book as you start going through your countdown for us?
Well, I try to read as widely as possible. So I try to read a mixture of fiction and non-fiction. I try to read a little bit of something fun, something a little bit lighter, something that's not going to challenge me too much mentally, and then do read books that are a bit more literary, if I can call them that will kind of stick with you a little bit more.
So tell us about the one we can see behind us. This is Ben Elton, Identity. I'm seeing an emoji with a bunch of hashtags in the front. I can guess what this is about, but I'm going to let you tell me.
So Identity Crisis is one that we've actually discussed on this segment before, so I won't spend too much time on it. But basically it's about, it's a satire about political correctness and the way that we act on social media, for example. The question that it asks is people who, for example, make stupid comments on social media.
We know a bunch of them.
Oh, we do know a bunch of them, absolutely. Stupid or ridiculous comments on social media often will go afterwards, well, this isn't really me. And the question that they pose in the book then is, well, who are you? If that's not
I've never understood why people can't understand what they're tweeting. So that's the book, I think, as far as how not to get it wrong on social media and own what you've done so badly. Let's move on to number 9, shall we? Can we do that? Let's bring up number 9 for us. What do we have? Ben Fogle is what I can see.
Yes, so Ben Fogle's Up. This is a non-fiction book. This guy is very well known for some of his TV shows. He likes doing sort of Bear Grylls-y type things. He likes to do extreme things like traveling across Antarctica. But this is his journey to the top of the world, up to Everest, and how he managed to do it. And it's really a reflection of his personal life story and how he managed to conquer this beast of a mountain. So it's really an inspiring story if you're looking for something that is uplifting, and it's quite emotional at the same time as well.
I think I'm actually going to write that down for myself, actually. I'm a big fan of Everest. So Ben Fogle Up is on my wish list, in case anyone is watching at home, by the way. Number 8, David Williams. Is this the... Oh, this is The Beast of Buckingham Palace.
So this is one for the young ones. Yeah. I finished reading this yesterday because it's a brand new book. He's well known for some of his children's books, but this is the first time that he's foraying into sort of a fantasy type genre. So this is about a young boy, Prince Alfred, who lives in Buckingham Palace. He's 12 years old, but this is taking place 100 years from now, when the whole world has gone to hell because of climate change, and the whole world is held in darkness. And he's never left Buckingham Palace. He's stuck there. He's quite a sickly child. And then he discovers that in the very vault of Buckingham Palace, there lives a fierce monster called a griffin. Now, if you don't know what a griffin is, you'll often find it on coats of arms. It's the head of an eagle and the body of a lion. And these are quite fearsome creatures, and how he then gets drawn into this adventure to save Britain.
It's amazing how they've brought the issue of climate change into a children's book. I'm sure there's a narrative in this, which we'll unpack another day. The Knife, I believe, is number 7, and we've got, there it is, Joe Nesbo,
yes.
The Knife. This 40 million books sold worldwide. That's not bad going for Joe Nesbo.
No, not too bad at all. So Joe Nesbo is a Norwegian writer. He forms part of the so-called Nordic noir genre. So if you're a fan of crime fiction, this is the book for you. So it makes it a great beach read. I quite like having things that grip me on the beach, but that aren't too difficult on the brain, if I can put it that way. So in this one,
well, when you're on the beach, you want a light read, don't you?
So in this one, Harry Hurler, who is the, it's not Harry Hole, that's the way it's spelled, but it's pronounced Hurler. Harry Hurler, the detective, is implicated in a murder himself, in the murder of a loved one. So it's not just about his grief, it's also about him proving his own innocence. Fast-paced, gripping, entertaining, definitely something to put in somebody's Christmas stocking.
And Andrea van Wyk, I'm about to bring up number 6 behind us, and I can see viewers at home are going to start throwing things at the TV. How is a Stephen King novel at number 6, The Institute?
Because Stephen King is wonderful. I think a lot of people misunderstand Stephen King, especially if you haven't read him before. You think, oh, the king of horror. And yes, certainly, he is great at horror. But even though this book won an award for best horror, it's actually more of a sci-fi feel to it. So it's about a government organization that is kidnapping children who are very gifted. So they either have powers of telepathy or telekinesis, and the government wants to harness these powers. And the children are then taken to this place called the Institute, and this is about what happens to them there and the way that they try and escape this horrible place. That
man's imagination just knows no bounds at all. We went to the top 5. 5 more to go. Bill Bryson, there's an author I think many people will know. I'm not the biggest book reader in the world, but even I know Bill Bryson. And tell us about his book, The Body. It's about to come up behind us.
Sure. So number 5, The Body, is also one that we briefly discussed on this segment, but just to remind people, it's about, well, the subtitle is A Guide for Occupants. So we inhabit this thing, this great physical machine, if you like, but very few of us actually understand how it works. Yeah. And Bill Bryson, known very well for his travel books, manages to take you on a journey, but this time through the body, and explains in very easy, simple, humorous language how it works and how it functions.
A Guide for Occupants. I love that one. Number 4, let's head over to Margaret Atwood, and I think this is called The Testaments. This is number 4.
Yes, this was the long-anticipated sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. Wow. Which, of course, a lot of people will know from the TV show as well.
I actually saw this all over a major bookstore yesterday. They had their entire front window with this, and it was the cover and that green colour, which is so different to the red, that caught my attention. I was wondering what this book was about.
All right, so this is the follow-up, but this takes place about 15 years after the events of The Handmaid's Tale. And it focuses very much on Aunt Lydia, that fearsome woman who controls the aunts and controls the handmaids in the story. And you get to hear from her in first person through diary entries that she makes, how she ended up being an aunt, how she ended up being who she is, and also how she plots the downfall of Gilead, something that you would never have expected from her. Right. So this is absolutely fascinating. It won, or co-won, if I can put it that way, the Booker Prize. Very gripping. It's not The Handmaid's Tale, so I don't think people should expect The Handmaid's Tale number 2. It's a book in its own right. But it doesn't clash with the TV show. So
no spoilers. Go and buy this now. You can still enjoy the show.
You can still enjoy the show, but if you want to look 15 years into the future and see what happens, you can do that as well.
I can see people clamoring for their car keys now to go and find this one, but I think I'm certainly going to. Where are we now? We're now on number 3. We're into the podium positions of this one. The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Am I saying it right?
Yes, absolutely. So this one is, as I called it previously, a book lover's book. It takes place in an underground library, a place of magic. And it's about a young man who discovers this library in a sort of Alice in Wonderland way, and how he and some of the people who work there have to save this beautiful place that just is almost like a city of books. It's really a fantastical read. It's full of magic, full of wonder. If you love reading, then you will love this book.
And we've got 2 more options as well for you as we head to number 2. This is your number 2 position. Tell us what this one is. This is is it Delia? I'm sorry, I need my glasses. Delia Owens.
Delia Owens, Where the Crawdads Sing. So this has been one of the most talked about books this year. And it also, according to Goodreads as well, I think it was number 4 or number 5 in terms of how many people have been reviewing it and how many people have been talking about it. And it was one of my favorite books. It's about a young girl called Kaya who lives in a marsh town in Northern Carolina in the 1960s. She lives on her own. Her whole family abandons her as a child, and she manages to live on her own. And it is just the most beautiful, beautifully written book that you can find about how her life unfolds in this marsh. Beautifully written, really lovely story. So if you're looking for something just to take you on a journey this holiday, then that one is for you.
And spoiler alert, we've already put up the image for you behind us. Drum roll, Andrea van Wyk, if you will, of all the books you've read. You've given us your top 9. This is your number 1. Why? And tell us about it.
So the Overstory Richard Powers, it really just amazed me in every single way. So what it is it's a book about trees, and if you had told me that I would be interested in a fictional book about trees, I would have laughed at you. But I read this book because Margaret Atwood had recommended it, and it basically starts off as a bunch of shorter stories about trees, or how trees have impacted people. So, for example, you have a story about a man who plants 3 trees, one for each of his daughters, and how the tree's characters actually reflect his daughter's characters. There's another one about a man who plants a tree, and every single year at the same time, he takes a photograph of the tree, and then his son and his grandson do the same thing. So they create this beautiful artwork about how this tree actually grows. And then towards the middle of the book, the stories start to overlap and become one big story that also incorporates ideas of climate change in the way that we are treating the world, in particular trees. I mean, Gareth, did you, for example, know, and I had to go and look this up to confirm this, that we share up to 40% of our genes with some trees?
No, I didn't.
Yes.
I wouldn't even know how you do that.
So this is absolutely amazing. It's about how trees can communicate with people and how trees communicate with ourselves as well.
So they've almost knitted the narrative very cleverly in the story as well. Andrea, thank you for the top 10. I'm sure there are going to be many people asking you on Twitter today for this list. So I'm sure you'll be very kind for all of our viewers. You can go and find Andrea van Wyk on Twitter as well. I'm sure she'll be very, very kind in putting up her top 10 of her 2019 reads for this year. There's still a couple of days left for Christmas, maybe the 22nd. You've still got all of today and tomorrow and Tuesday to go and find one of those books if you are interested. And I'm sure we'll put this up on enca.com for you later as well. Andrea, thank you for coming in today.